All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Behind the Grind. So, Siege Mode came out yesterday on the public test server for Space Marine 2, and just like I said in the video that I made yesterday, I was able to play around with it a little bit. I've played through all the waves now and all that kind of good stuff. I've put in a couple more hours after I came back home from work yesterday, and I've been playing around with Siege Mode. And you know what, dude? After putting a little bit more time into it, I really have a lot of things that I feel like I need to say regarding Siege Mode and the way that the developers are going to be handling the current state of this game moving forward. And also, I have some suggestions and ideas just in case any developers are stopping by to kind of listen to the feedback that they're getting from the community. You guys already know that since I do make videos, I am a voice in the community, so ultimately it is a part of my responsibility to also kind of help the developers understand what the player base wants, not only what I specifically want, but I do read all of your comments. And so in this video, I will be giving them some feedback regarding their Siege Mode moving forward. So let's go ahead and dive into this video. Before we begin, I want to ask you to please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Also, let's take a moment to thank our channel members for supporting the Behind the Grind YouTube channel. Your help means a lot, and if you're interested in being a channel member, check out the information in the description down below. Thank you. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about why I personally think that Siege Mode will be cooked moving forward. So, as you guys already know, Siege Mode is a horde type mode, but not necessarily, right? So, you go into a different sector, and each sector contains 5 different waves for you to play through. Playing through these waves, you get access to stuff like little mini challenges that you can do, some optional side quests for you to get some kind of extra requisition points, so that way you can call in reinforcements and all that kind of good stuff. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is that, you know what, there's really no reason to play Siege Mode in Space Marine 2. Now, the reason why I say that is because Siege Mode has a complete lack of progression. There is nothing for you to achieve in this game mode. There's nothing for you to grind towards. The only things that are here for people to unlock are some armor pieces. So like, you have this studded helmet right here that you can see, which, you know what, is a pretty ugly helmet and is a pretty terrible reward just for playing through Siege Mode. I don't know anybody who is kind of excited to wear this thing. This thing looks hideous. But with that, you get a shoulder pauldron, which, I mean, is kind of whatever. You're not going to catch me wearing this thing ever. This is just not a good looking shoulder pauldron either, in my personal opinion. So yeah, you have these 2 extremely mid rewards that you get for playing through Siege. And you know what? That's not even the worst of it. So moving past these 2 terrible looking armor customization pieces, you also have some weapon customization. Now, this is where the terrible rewards really shine. So as you guys can see on screen, a few weapons, actually most of them, have these red, white, and blue cosmetics. Yeah, look at this. This is horrendous, dude. Like, you're telling me that I can unlock red by playing through Siege Mode in Space Marine 2? Like, what the hell is this, dude? So like, if you guys didn't already know, I'm gonna go ahead and assume most of you guys watching and listening to this video have played Call of Duty at some point in your life. Now, in Call of Duty, you can play through the multiplayer and you can unlock some new camos for your weapons and stuff. And look, Call of Duty had stuff like gold, they had like diamond, they had all these pretty cool cosmetics, which, don't get me wrong, a few of the weapons in Space Marine 2 Siege Mode, you can unlock bronze, silver, and gold, but they're not even completely covering the weapon. For the power sword, for example, it's literally just the handle at the bottom of the sword. Like, the sword itself isn't even gold and silver and all that kind of trash stuff. But going back to Call of Duty, you would be able to unlock weapon camos like gold and diamond to be able to show off like your dedication to the game, right? But in Space Marine 2, you get red, white, and blue, man. You get the most bare bones. Like, who the hell is gonna run around with a red bolter? I mean, the red bolter is iconic in 40k, but Of all the weapon rewards that you could give, this is the best you can come up with? Are you kidding me? Going back to Call of Duty, starting from Black Ops 3, you could basically make your own camo. You could just slap on the color red onto your weapon and just run a red weapon. I don't understand why this is a reward in Space Marine 2. This is terrible, man. And you know what? This also goes into another issue with Siege mode, is that a lot of creators out there are unanimously and very blindly praising this game, right? So like yesterday I was hyped for it, but I still was pretty critical, and now that I've put in more time into Siege mode, I've been calling it out more for what it is, and it's a repetitive slop. There's not much to do here, and going back to the community itself as a whole, and a lot of creators, you guys need to hold yourselves accountable here, is that we continue to accept the bare minimum. Siege mode is the bare minimum. You basically go from point A to point B, killing enemies, holding them off, calling in for reinforcements, and that's literally it, dude. It's the same freaking gameplay as before. There's nothing here to really switch up the gameplay at all. So if we take into account some things that other games did with their horde modes, first off, I want to say that a way to kind of progress Siege mode could have been cool if we had just had some things to kind of strive towards. For example, why don't we have a system in place for us to be able to upgrade the damage that the Dreadnought does, or like to be able to alter the time that the Dreadnought is currently on the map? We should be able to upgrade and unlock some better things for these Dreadnoughts, like be able to customize the weapons that it brings in. We should be able to pick and choose what we want our reinforcement Astartes to come into the map with. So like if we wanted to call in a bunch of guys with thunder hammers or chain swords or like heavy bolters, I feel like that would have been pretty cool. The Cadians, I think, are pretty fine to just leave the way they are. However, we could have some upgrades when it comes to the different types of Cadians that we could have called in, man. Like we could have called in like heavy weapons platoons. We could call in some more shock troops. We could call in like a command unit. There's nothing here, dude. Like I can't stress this enough. Like this is extremely bare bones. There's nothing here that changes up the gameplay. There's no fortifications when it comes to Siege mode, because the only thing that you do is you run around and you just fight enemies in the same way that you would in operations. This is not a horde mode, dude. This is just a glorified operation where you go from one spot in the map and all of a sudden you start to get overrun by Tyranids or Chaos. And don't even get me started on Tyranids and Chaos. Like this was the perfect opportunity to introduce a third faction into the game, but we're still gonna have to settle for these guys that we've been fighting for like 9-10 months straight already. Like we're coming up on the year anniversary of Space Marine 2 here pretty soon, and it's just not gonna cut it. Looking through what the community has said, I've read a lot of people's comments and I've looked in forums in the past few days, and the thing is that people like to say that we need to be happy with whatever the developers give us when it comes to Space Marine 2, because we should be grateful that they're giving us anything at all, right? But that's terrible, dude. Like we've just accepted the bare minimum. Siege mode is the bare minimum. I keep being told by people that I just need to shut up and have fun with the game and to just enjoy what I'm being given, because they're not entitled to giving us anything at all. And I say screw that. They actually are. And you know why? Because they gave us a roadmap as soon as the game came out. Actually, I think it came out before the game was actually released. So if you're going to go ahead and promise us some content, you might as well deliver. And the problem is that we've settled for the bare minimum, because this is not going to cut it. Moving into the future, I'm already pretty bored with Siege mode, not gonna lie. I was playing yesterday and I just turned my game off after a couple of rounds, and you know what? It's because the game itself is repetitive. There's nothing for you to actually work towards. Like the rewards that you get within the actual horde experience is for like sector 1, I think you get a couple of hundred requisition points. Then the next wave you get some armory data and all that stuff, and there's no actual tangible rewards outside of requisition points and armory data, and that's just not gonna cut it, man. I feel like our classes cannot be shared between operations, because everyone's just gonna come into Siege mode fully leveled up. We should be able to have our own separate progression here, and we should just be able to have some more things that would actually make this feel like a horde mode, like being able to defend, having like defensive turrets. That's a great question, actually. Why can't we summon a defense turret or something to kind of slow down the enemy waves? This is pretty ridiculous. It's just bare bones, dude. It's like we have a sandbox and we put 3 Astartes or 3 players within this sandbox, but the sand is about as deep as like an inch, right? So it's like if you walk up to a lake and the lake isn't deep, it's just a foot of water. That's how siege mode feels like. It looks like a lot, but it's really shallow when you actually break it down and you look at some of this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a negative video when it comes to siege mode. My ask for the community is that we stop accepting the bare minimum. Space Marine 2, in my opinion, is already pretty much cooked. The only thing we can do now is just hold these people accountable when it comes to Space Marine 3, because I'm not going to settle for this kind of stuff when it comes to Space Marine 3. Come Space Marine 3, I want them to reuse, quite literally, all the assets that they already have in Space Marine 2. So what I'm trying to say is, since we already have the Thousand Suns and the Tyranids in Space Marine 2, there's no reason to not have them in Space Marine 3. Just take a sequel is supposed to take what the original did and build upon it, right? So like in the Gears of War trilogy and the original Halo trilogy, they only added more enemies and keeping the old ones, except for a very small minority. But I want them to keep these enemies and to introduce more, because I love the Tyranids and I love the Thousand Suns, but boy is it getting boring just fighting these guys. If Death Guard or friggin' World Eaters was introduced into this, I would be feeling a lot different. Not even just them. Maybe Necrons could have made this game mode a lot better, but moving on from all of that, dude, like, when are we gonna get some more tangible content for Space Marine 2? I can't believe that we're only getting with this one map when it comes to siege mode, even though they have all of these assets created when it comes to other maps within the game. So like we could have had a Demirium map, we could have also had an Abrax map, which I did see a comment online stating that the Kadaku map for Chaos doesn't really make sense, because in the story mode, Chaos really only reveals itself after they assassinate that one Archmagos or whatever the hell he was. So there's no reason to have Chaos here on Kadaku, because in the story they weren't here to begin with. I feel like if they were going to make a map about the siege mode, that it probably would have been on Abrax, given that both the Tyranids and the Chaos Warriors were fighting on that map. But anyways, there's not really much that I think will save siege mode. Like I said in yesterday's video, they need to have the waves alternate between Tyranids and Chaos. Fighting them for 5 rounds each, once at a time, gets pretty boring and repetitive. They need to either have them change each wave or alternate the waves a lot more frequently, right? So like maybe every 2 or 3 waves, but not every 5 waves. That's a little too much. Or just have them both appear at the same time. Who cares if they fight each other? It's 40k. Everyone's going to try to fight and kill each other anyways. So yeah, please, I do feel pretty strongly about siege mode. I'm not a complete hater, but I do want to see this game succeed, and unfortunately, it just kind of seems like it goes in through one ear and out the other. And unfortunately for a lot of people in the community, they just like to accept the bare minimum. So please, by all means, if you want to call me out in the comments, go ahead and do that. But if you agree with me, please let me know as well. I need to know your guys' feedback so that moving forward, I can bring you guys the accurate perspective of the community. I want to be a representative of the community, because I'm not going to settle for less, and I do not want to accept the bare minimum when it comes to my games and my money and my time. So if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel for more content. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, I'd encourage you to join the channel for $5 a month for exclusive perks. Thanks. This has been Behind the Grind. Extremely negative about Space Marine 2. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!